Good evening, everyone. So today I'm really excited to talk about a very critical aspects of artificial intelligence, the dilemma which we face every day when we interact with AI technologies. Should we accept the recommendation or not? But before we get into that, we need to understand the uniqueness of AI. AI is unique because of its autonomy, learning capabilities, and inscrutability. Autonomy enables AI to act without human intervention, while learning capabilities allow it to improve through data analysis and experience. However, it is the inscrutability, the ability of AI systems to produce models and outputs which are opaque in nature, which poses a significant challenge. So this inscrutability gives AI its black box nature, not allowing the users to understand the underlying reasoning behind the recommendation the AI is giving us. Imagine you are looking for a good movie on Netflix, right? And it gives you certain recommendations, but you have no idea how or why it came up with those particular recommendations. So this opaqueness can be frustrating and even alarming, especially in critical decision-making scenarios. To address this problem, explainable AI emerges as a solution. Explainable AI kind of gives insights to users about the decision-making process the AI had while giving a particular recommendation. So this increases the transparency and confidence, thereby increasing the acceptance of the recommendation as well. However, the relationship between explainability and acceptance of these recommendations is not straightforward. So my study looks into this relationship, trying to answer how does explainable AI influence acceptance of AI recommendations. So in our study, we found two factors: context and task complexity, which have a role to play in this dynamics when we interact with AI technologies. And in the subsequent slides, I will talk about each of them, and we'll understand how they have a role to play there. So let's dive in. Context. What do we mean by context here? So in our study, we had two experiments. Experiment 1 was in a low-stake context, something like a Netflix. If you are looking for a movie on Netflix, and if you don't get it, you are not losing anything. It's not consequential for you. On the other hand, experiment 2 was in a high-stake context, something like looking for a home loan for your first house. Now, that's a very high-stake decision to be made right there, because it has long-term financial implications for you and your family. So what we are trying to understand here is, if in these two contexts, if we change the level of explainability in the recommendations, how would the acceptance level change? And what we found is, in the low-stake context, the acceptance level was 10% for high explainable recommendations, while 8% for low explainable ones. However, there was a notable difference in the experiment 2 involving high stake. Here, the acceptance rate for high explainable recommendations jumped to 18%. However, it remained at around 8% for low explainable recommendations. Now, this is interesting. There is a change we see here, but why did this happen? To understand this, let's consider the concepts of System 1 thinking and System 2 thinking, popularized by psychologist Daniel Kahneman. So he proposed two modes of thinking which we engage in when we are making decisions in our lives. So System 1 thinking is fast and automatic. We engage in System 1 thinking when there are low-stake decisions to be made, kind of showing it with a rabbit, not that rabbit is automatic, but fast. And System 2 thinking is slow, and deliberate, and logical. We use System 2 thinking to make high-stake decisions, showing it with a turtle, but again, turtles are not deliberate. So if we go back to the results, what happens here is, in experiment 1, where the stakes are low, users tend to engage with System 1 thinking. They want to make quick and intuitive decisions. And therefore, they don't really appreciate the additional information provided by high explainable recommendations. And as a result, the difference between the acceptance in these high explainability and low explainability is not that pronounced. On the other hand, in high-stake context, users engage with System 2 thinking because the stakes are high, and they really want to understand the underlying reasoning the AI system had when it proposed a particular recommendation. And the high explainable recommendations, they kind of satisfy this need for additional insights, or how did you come up with that particular recommendation. And that's why the acceptance rate jumps up to 18%. So this finding kind of underlines the importance of context-aware designs, especially in high-stake context. High explainability is highly valued by the users. Now, moving on to the second finding about task complexity. In our daily lives, we perform various tasks with different levels of complexity. So if we go back to the two examples, we were talking about Netflix and home loan, high stake, low stake. So in both these contexts, the task complexity can be high and low. For example, if you're looking for a specific movie from a specific actor or director, it would be a low task complexity. But the task complexity would increase quite much if we are looking for personalized recommendations now. That which means that if you and I make the same search on Netflix, we would get different recommendations because of our interaction history on the platform. If we talk about the high-stake context of home loan, it would be simpler if you just approach your current bank and ask it to give you a loan package. On the other hand, the same task would become much more complex if you decide to go online yourself and go and search through all the service providers available in the market so that you get an optimal loan package. So again, what we are trying to understand under this umbrella is, if we change the task complexity for these two contexts, low stake and high stake, how the acceptance of the recommendation changes. And what we found was, in the low stake context, the lower the task complexity, the acceptance rate was higher. But surprisingly, the same low level of task complexity leads to a lower acceptance in a high stake context. This is also very interesting. Why would the acceptance change as the task complexity is changing in these two contexts? To understand this, let's go back to the system 1 and system 2 thinking we talked about earlier. So in low stake context, as users engage in system 1 thinking, trying to make quick and intuitive decisions, the lower task complexity kind of further simplifies the effort needed to process the recommendation given to them, thereby leading to a higher acceptance rate. For example, if you are looking for a Uma Thurman movie, right, under action genre, you would most probably get the Kill Bill series, and that's what you are looking for. It's a simple task. On the other hand, if we talk about the high-stake context, the same low level of task complexity, because we are engaging in system 2 thinking, we are taking time to really understand if we are getting the optimal recommendation from the AI system, the lower task complexity, the users may perceive it as if the AI system has missed critical details while coming up with a recommendation. Maybe the bank is trying to rip them off. So something is missing, and the task has been overly simplified by the AI system while giving a recommendation. That's why the acceptance is also lower. If the task complexity is higher, if I choose to go online and look for an AI system which searches across multiple service providers, I would have a better understanding. Okay, so I've looked at all the possible options, and there is nothing being missed from the data I have looked at. So that's why the acceptance is also higher. So this finding kind of gives us an additional layer of information. So within a context also, the task complexity itself has a role to play. It can increase the acceptance in low complexity tasks, and also decrease acceptance in high stake contexts. So what do these two findings mean for AI professionals and AI users? For IT professionals, it asks them to implement context-aware design. As we saw, high explainability is really important in high-stake context, which we saw from the earlier graph. And again, the task complexity itself has a role to play, and it's really appreciated by the user when the stakes are high and the task complexity is also high. High explainability is really, really important. And for the AI users, it calls them to be mindful when they are interacting with AI technologies. Be aware that when you're accepting it, is it because the stakes are high for you? Is the task too complex for you? Does the platform have the level of explainability you are expecting from it? So for example, if you are looking for a home loan, and you get a recommendation be sure that you have all the information you need to accept or decline that recommendation. It should not be that you accept it just because, even if you don't have the required information. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to a good discussion.